Greetings, outdoor enthusiasts. I had some deer blind plans on my website, tastyvenison.com, and I've been getting hits, and I built a number of deer blinds, and I was sitting in this one in particular the other day thinking, you know, I really should put together a video on how to construct these things because I'm really enjoying sitting in this one. I built this one particularly for archery, and there's some unique features in it that I kind of like a lot, enough that I thought I'd share. And with the advent of YouTube, and I did a textured wall video that's got like 170,000 hits already, so I figured why not do one of these. But I'll walk around this blind, and I got some pictures that I did during construction that I'll put into the video as well that show you some of the things that we did. But I built this blind for about $240, I think, and I used some parts that I had laying around. But certainly you can do this for under $300, getting some of the parts cheaply through your basic Lowe's or Home Depot kind of place. And I'll tell you how to get some of the stuff cheaper than the rack rate as we go along. But let me tell you what I've done here. This particular blind is in Texas, so it's a little warmer here than your northern climates, and I'll talk about that further down because I built some in Michigan where it's much colder and snows a lot, and you can modify this slightly to fit that particular situation. But what I've got here is basically a 6x6 blind, plenty of room in it. I mean, you got enough room for 2-3 people in it. And I built this one for archery, so I can either stand up or sit down shooting out of a archery window that I built specifically for this. It's a shoot-through window with shoot-through mesh, and I'll show it to you here. This is the window itself, and it's basically a 1 foot wide and 4 foot tall window, and it pulls out and slips in to position by these retractable pieces here. And all these are pieces of a railing, a deck railing that I had. And you just slide those off, and this whole unit comes out. And it's got the mesh on the front here, and it's just stapled on. And this is just mesh that I had left over from some the pop-up blinds that have long since gone in the trash, but I kept the shoot-through mesh and I just cut it to fit and stapled it on here and put it back in place. Put it in, lock it in place, and there you go. It's ready to go. And you can shoot standing up, sitting down, it doesn't matter. And when I wear out that mesh, I just staple in some more. Got a window over here, sliding window, just a piece of plexiglass with a knob on it. I'll show you later how to build these rails. They're really just nothing more than a 1x3 with an edge cut out of it, so that this piece of plexiglass sits in it and slides back and forth. This particular window is on a piece of OSB, and it's screwed into place. I have another blind, and I'm going to go and take a video of that and stick it in here for you to see where I've made it so that these windows slide in, slide out, so you can just take them in and take them out without any screws. These are screwed in 4 spots, so if I wanted to flip this window over and put it on this side, I just take it out, flip it over, and it'd be on this particular side. And then over here I've got another camera window with a little shelf on it, and so I can put a camera, video camera, regular camera, whatever, and a little tripod. And I stuck an extra piece of 2x4 out here for give me a little more shelf, because I like a little extra shelf space for resting. I want to put a camera out there or whatever. This is a different style of window that I put into this particular particular blind. I didn't build this blind, I just put the windows in it. You know what it is, it's similar window, but it's a removable window. And it's got the same sliding window with the 1x3s that have been cut out with the ledges in it. So you got a sliding window, and then I put just another viewing window in here that so you can see through that side. And what's different about this one is I put these turn buttons in at the top that hold the window in place, and then I've got a rail down here at the bottom, same design as these here, with just basically a wedge cut into it. And if you just take and turn the turn buttons, it frees the window up, and you can pull the whole window assembly out, and then now the whole thing pulls out and your whole window is clear. And that makes it convenient for, you know, during July and August here when it's really warm in Texas and you want to have that whole window out, then you can do that. But it's nice when you want to close it up, you get into, you know, January, February, when it gets pretty cool out here, you can drop that window back in, slide it in place, and just put the turn buttons in and lock it back in place, and you're got her closed up again. Okay, what I've got here is I'm going to show you, I talked about the window and doing that little edge so that you can make the sliding plexiglass in here. I've taken a piece of 1 by whatever here, and I'm gonna cut that bevel in the edge of this. And what I've got is I got my table saw over here, and I'm gonna take the table saw and I'm gonna raise my blade just to the level, I'll show you here, just to the level that I figure I'm gonna get about 1/4 inch from that blade cut into this wood. And then when I get it cut one way, I'm going to flip it over and cut it the other way. So we'll do that. You can see the cut that I've made in here. And there's kind of that beveled edge. I'm going to have to make one more little cut because I got this tiny little edge right here. But I'll just raise that blade just a tiny bit, cut it back in here, and then we'll have that angle exactly the way I need it. So I need to raise that blade just a hair, make one more cut, and we're there. But you got the idea. This window right here, I'm on level ground, and everything's going to be different for everybody, depending on the topography where you're at. This particular one here is 24 inches. is where I started. So I set my top board here at 24 inches and went up from there, and that's a pretty good height for me sitting down and shooting out as well as standing up and shooting out. This over here, this is at 29 inches, and again, we're on level ground. The side windows in this particular blind, they're actually shed windows that I had laying around from a project before that I didn't use in the shed. I ended up with some other windows from another project, so I just stuck these in there, and they're very simple sliding windows. I don't ever really plan on shooting out of these because this is a bow blind and all my shots are straightforward. But they're here mostly for ventilation. And for a drape, I just took a piece of Campbell burlap and stapled it up here so that it just covers this, and you can see through this, so you can actually see the animals walking by without having to move the drape. Works well. The side walls on this, each of these boards are cut for this particular blind to be 6 foot tall. So when you add the bottom plate and the top plate, you get to 6'3", and then when you add the locking top plate, and I'll show you that here. When you add the locking top plate, you get another 1.5 inches. So by the time you get the top, you're at 6'4.5" at the lowest point in the back. So that's your lowest point is 6'4.5" in the back of the blind. Now to make the roof, I had laying around some 2x12s these were actually part of steps for a deck that I had, and they were leftovers, so I used these, but you could use anything for this particular. You could use a 2x10, a 2x8, whatever, anything just to give this roof support. And you've got OSB that's laying across here, and my roof is 7x7. So it gives you a little bit of overhang on each side because the frame of this blind is 6x6. So you've got 6 inches of overhang on each side. On this roof, to give it its pitch, I've added two 2x4s here to move it up 3 inches. And that gives it its pitch from front to back, and I add them to the front because I'd rather have my rain running to the back of the blind, not running off the front. So that's what I have in order to give the roof its pitch, and for here, I mean, that's plenty. Now the floor on this is constructed out of 2x6 treated lumber. And it's sitting on cinder block that's leveled out. And since this is a 6x6 square, I spaced it out so that my one truss going across here was exactly at 4 foot. So that I could lay a 4x8 sheet of plywood across here, and it'll be right on that floor joist, and it fit perfectly. And then the 2 foot cutoff that came from the other end, I put it over here, and that left only a 2 foot square in the corner that I had to come up with to fill in the void. And I used 7/16 OSB for the floor. It's cheap, and it worked out well. For the door, just another piece of OSB with a couple of cheap hinges. Nothing exciting there. And a basic gate hook. to lock it in place. I throw a lot of screws around the blind in order to hang things like my bow, my quiver. Back here in the corner I have this all-purpose recycled coffee disposal, which is really a transmission funnel going to a hose that goes outside and into the ground into a container with holes drilled into it that drains into the soil. So you can use that for whatever purpose you might see fit. Of course, a tap light, always valuable. Now, in colder climates, in the winter, you may want to dispense with this shoot-through window. And the way you can do that is, this is a 2x4 here. Drop down to a 1x3 and put some OSB in the front of it so that you block this all off, and then just cut out a space for a plexiglass window, put it on hinges so it flips down when you want, and then you pretty much will cover up this entire space with that OSB, and then, you know, slide it in, replace this with that unit you just made, and you're good to go, and you will have blocked all the wind that was coming in. So you can switch it over to a winter style unit. Word of advice, I built these blinds in cold climates in northern Michigan, and I insulated them and paneled it. Don't do it. All you're going to do is create a new home for every rodent within any kind of walking distance to your blind, and I ended up having to tear it back out and throw it all away. So don't bother to insulate it. It's a waste of time and money. What better thing to do is to go to like Harbor Freight and get one of those 2-burner propane stoves and stick it back in the corner, run a hose outside, hook up a 20-pound propane tank, and use those 2 burner stoves to heat the place, and then cook your lunch and breakfast and whatever on there. They work excellent. Now you'll see back here I have the back of this covered with felt, black felt, and the reason I've done that is because this is an archery blind, and you like to have the backdrop black because when the deer look in, you don't want a light color backdrop. And I wear dark clothes when I'm in here, and that way they can't see me as well. And I'll probably paint this particular board black because that's the one that they're going to see most coming out of this window here. But I did that just to give me a black offset. You could paint this too, but it's a whole lot easier if you just use felt while you're doing it, and then you don't have to mess with anything. On the roof, I just go to Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, and I ask for busted bundles of shingles. And I'll throw in a picture here. You'll see I used 2 different shingles here. One happened to be an architectural grade shingle. I think I got a couple bundles of shingles for $6. And I did this roof for $6. And it come out well. And nobody's going to see the roof anyway, so it doesn't matter. So just ask for some busted shingles. The roof is it's 7 by 7, so it's 49 square feet. A bundle does 33 1/3, so 2 bundles is going to take care of it for you. You want to put some drip edge on the roof for sure. So felt the roof first, and then put your drip edge on. And then once you got the felt down and the drip edge on, you can go ahead and shingle it. And another clue on your drip edge, you're going to find drip edge at the store that's got a bend in it and stuff like this. If you take it up there and ask for a discount, they'll give you a discount on that as well. So, and then paint. That's the other thing that you can get cheap. Go to the mismatched paint display. There's especially at Home Depot, I think it is. They have gallons of mismatched paint for $5. And I got mine there And the base paint on this was a waterproof sealer paint, and I got that. It was normally like 35 bucks. I got it for $5. And then I got the second gallon of finish coat for $5. So I painted this thing, and a gallon covers this blind easily. I finished it for $10. And then I think I had a little bit of white left over, so I could put this awesome Michigan State Spartan S on here and finish it off. And then I just piece, whatever pieces I can of OSB on the outside just to make it fit. I mean, there's really nothing special here that's warrants anything.